Picture this: an urban environment filled with vibrant parks and abundant greenery. Buildings that tell a story of culture and history. Streets, streetlights, and clean streets that make walking at night safer. Benches thoughtfully placed around the streets for rest, and water features to refresh the senses. And an urban environment designed not just to exist, but to thrive, to live. Now step into your home. The walls finished with natural materials that remind you of the earth. Your windows opening into a garden that blur the line between the indoors and the outdoors. Your bathroom floors glowing with red brick tones. Your shower framed by greenery pouring from the outside. There's space, rain showers. You're not surviving, you're thriving. Now let's come back to reality. Winston Churchill once said, "We shape our buildings and thereafter they shape us." So I ask, how have we shaped Nigerian architecture? And what are we willing to do moving forward? Recently, one of our clients called me, and while we were speaking, she shared how the 7-bedroom home we designed for her family has supported her relationship with her husband. She allowed me to share this story. They went on a trip and spent about a week in a hotel, constantly going back and forth over the air conditioning. One person wants the air condition on for cooling, the other one is putting it off to avoid catching a cold. Sounds familiar? After a while, they thought to themselves that they never have this problem at home. And why? We designed near floor to lintel level windows for their master bedroom and positioned it on the southwest end of the site, hence trapping the southwest winds, which are the most consistent over the duration of the day. For the first 6 months of living in this home, they lived entirely off-grid, using natural ventilation, daylighting, and a solar system. This cuts their costs to 79% less than their previous smaller home. The current home is larger in size, but their energy costs are lower because of how it was designed. Now, they've connected back to the grid out of habit. However, their solar system covers 70% of their needs, choosing fans over air conditioners 90% of the time. The architecture not only shaped their comforts. It shaped their relationship, their energy bills, and even their habits. This is what sustainable architecture can do. You never know how far it will go to improve people's living experience. In Nigeria, we have built and designed for survival and profits. But now, by necessity, we must design and build for identity, for living, to thrive. The great Demaswoko, a pioneer in African modernism, said, "A house is a shelter, but also an expression of who we are. If it doesn't reflect our culture, it's just a building, not architecture." Research shows us that our natural exposure to the natural environment improves our mood, our health, our productivity, and even our social connection, our sense of belonging. And the exciting news is here. Our continent holds the answers. Within our natural environment, we have materials like laterite, limestone, clay and mud bricks, adobe, thatch, bamboo. The list goes on. While I was mentioning the materials, some may have dismissed it as poor man's materials. But like the Nigerian architect Mariam Kamara said, local materials are not poor. They are knowledge, they are continuity, they are wealth. In 2019, we designed the first off-grid hospital in Nigeria, located at Nsukka, Enugu, Nigeria. At the time, we were focused on meeting the end user needs and designing to suit the climate, not necessarily for comfort, not necessarily to tick off a metric. Our significant intervention was transforming this courtyard, because it was a renovation project, into an atrium. And what we did was to elevate the atrium above the roof level with openings round its perimeter, allowing hot air to rise and escape from those openings. This setup meant that we have a naturally cool central waiting area in the hospital. No air conditioning required. 6 years later, the hospital runs fully off-grid, using generators only for surgeries and as backup for emergencies. It currently consumes 75% less than buildings of its size. Beyond energy, the design and the architecture unlocked community awareness. Their patients grew from 1 to 4 people a day to an average of 15 people per day, and on peak days, up to 30 people. Context-driven design didn't just save energy. It shapes and changed the way a community responds to their eye health. Rwanda's Institute of Conservation Agriculture, RICA, was built and designed not from imported steel and glass, but from the earth beneath it. Composite soil blocks made on site from the soil, the local soil. Volcanic blocks from local quarries. The roof tiles from locally sourced timber and clay. Passive cooling. Rainwater harvesting. Shaded walkways. Over 2,000 Rwandans were employed and trained in earth construction. This project proved that architecture can be modern, inspiring, and deeply local at the same time. Nigeria celebrated her 65 years of independence. What will the next 65 years look like? What will our architecture, our built environment, and our cities look like in the next 65? Concrete deserts or clear, distinguishable indigenous cities? If you're not an architect, you still have power. Ask questions when you buy or build. Does this reflect my culture, my climate, my story? Ask your architects, ask your developers. Are you exploring indigenous materials? Are you designing for climate? Are you celebrating our landscapes? Support policies that protect our trees, our heritage, and our landscapes, which could drive tourism and inspiration. The future is not far away. It is the next now. So we have a question. What will we build? If we want a Nigeria that is livable, lovable, and lasting, then we must design it now on purpose. Thank you very much.